trying to get someone with dementia to stop doing something, and you try to tell them to stop, you've tried to say, don't do that, and they keep doing it anyway, this is what you need to do. For starters, number one, stop telling them to stop. Don't tell them to not do it. This is how a lot of caregivers approach disruptive behaviors. Maybe your loved one is doing something that is disturbing you, super loud. Maybe it's dangerous for them and you want them to stop. We approach it by telling them to stop. And then a lot of times they don't. And then we get frustrated and we tell them to stop again. And that approach doesn't work. Careblazer, whenever you want your loved one to stop something, don't just tell them to stop. Tell them, ask them, request for their help in doing something else that will naturally get their behavior to stop. If your loved one is in the kitchen sink and the kitchen sink is overflowing and they're making a big mess everywhere, instead of saying, stop, don't do the dishes or don't mess with the sink, you can instead say, hey honey, can you help me dry off these dishes over here? So you're redirecting their behavior and getting them engaged in something else. If your loved one continues to pick at a scab, besides, making sure you're putting the proper lotions and everything on it to minimize the itch, instead of saying, don't itch that, what else can you give their hands to do? Can you ask for their help in folding something, polishing something, putting a puzzle together, eating a snack, right? You don't even have to mention to stop doing that. You just give them something else that they are going to want to do that involves their hands. You are going to have to be creative in thinking about what is the thing you can get them to redirect their attention to. But it's really helpful because you're avoiding the no, you're avoiding telling them to stop, which is likely just going to make them upset and want to resist and push back. Instead, what can you do that keeps their hands busy, that keeps them engaged in doing something else? The number one thing I see a lot of caregivers mess up on is that they tell their loved ones to stop doing something, but then they don't actually give them something they can do. You always, if you're trying to get your loved one to stop doing something, and maybe you even say stop, ask yourself, what then are you going to ask them to do, right? Because a lot of times people with dementia, they might have a hard time coming up with that next step on their own. They might not know what to do. And so they're sitting there scratching something, you tell them to stop. Maybe they stop briefly and then maybe they go back to scratching again. Or like a lot of people, they're just going to keep doing it. What can you do to keep their hands busy? What can you do to redirect them? Not even redirect them, but just naturally get them into doing something that will involve their hands or involve their attention. After all, the best way to prevent challenging, difficult behaviors is to keep your loved one engaged in pleasurable, enjoyable behaviors. If your loved one is engaged in a pleasurable, enjoyable behavior, then they are not engaged in something that is disruptive, unsafe, and super challenging. The problem is we spend a lot of time focusing on all the things that are challenging for us, all the things they are doing wrong, and we don't spend enough time trying to figure out what can we do to help them succeed, what can we do to help keep their interest in a safe way, what can we do to help bring more joy in their life. Careblazer, does this make sense? Instead of saying no, try to redirect their attention. Try to naturally get them involved in something else. I hope that this tip helps you. Let me know below. And if you are truly struggling with challenging dementia behaviors, Careblazer, join me. I'm hosting a free class on Thursday in how to successfully respond to difficult dementia behaviors. It's totally free, but you do need to save your spot. There's a link below this video. See you there.